Seville acts as our temporary home tonight then for this UEFA Champions League quarter-final second leg against Porto. The Blues are in a commanding position with a 2-0 lead taken from last week, but this is top-flight football. Nothing is taken for granted. Very, very excited for tonight. It's going to be a big one. Welcome to Matchday Live. I'm joined by Jason Cundy, Pat Nevin, Abby McCarthy, and the man sunning himself in the corner, the brilliant Lee Parker as well, from the Ramon Sanchez Pishwan, aka Seville Bridge. I've been trying to get that going all day, Lee. It's not really cotton done just yet, but we're going to come to you in a second about team news. But usually I want to check in with Jason Cundy first around about this time ahead of a big European game, because it varies, Jay. Sometimes you're a bag of nerves, other times, and it seems like tonight, mate, you seem to be the picture of calm. Talk to me.
Don't let this confuse you or even delude you. Under this exterior of what feels and looks like a calm man, the heart beats as fast as it ever has. This is a huge game, as we all know. I just can't help it. It's in the balance. 2-0 is one of those precarious leads that lulls you a little bit into that false sense of security that it's safer than it is. If they score the first goal, let me tell you now, every Chelsea fan's heart will be beaten faster.
Oh, Pat, I'm very much a cliche person, but 2-0, it's always the most dangerous score in football, they say. It does feel a little bit like that, and I'll be honest with you, the closer we've got to kick-off, the more people I've spoken to. I've gone 3-0 in Play Predictor. What on earth was I doing?
Yeah, I mean, they've got the strongest side, we suspect, back again for this one, so, I mean, they'll be even better than they were in the first game. They weren't bad in the first game, although they did tire near the end. I'm not at all worried, like Jason, at all at the moment. However, as Jason correctly says, if they score, I'll be right up there with Jason. I'll be sitting right beside you there. My fingernails will be down like that, as you say, every Chelsea fan will, because that's what it's like in these sort of games. So we need to be dead professional about it, and I just hope the back line's really steady this one, because it's been an amazing back line that we've had. Apart from that one 45-minute period, it's been a brilliant back line. We need it to be that again tonight, and we'll be calmer with every minute that passes.
Abby, I feel really torn between it, because 1 minute I'm really nervous and really sort of cautious, and the next minute I'm mouthing up to my friends in a group chat going, "We're going to Istanbul, mate. It's going to happen." So I'm so torn between the two. But I suppose tonight is about getting through. Of course, that's the first thing. But also, it's a little bit of an opportunity from Chelsea to lay down a marker, because we could be the first team through. Obviously, the Bayern and PSG tie, which the other one played tonight, that's in the balance. The other three games as well are kind of in the balance. Ours is the only one, really, where we put ourselves in a very strong position from the first leg. So there is a little bit of a statement performance potentially tonight from Chelsea.
Yeah, absolutely a statement to be made. And, we're unbeaten in the Champions League this season so far. We haven't lost at all, and that's definitely something to flex. And it's definitely something I've been saying in my group chats as well. But yeah, let's not get carried away. We did well in the first leg. But it's just a cushion, isn't it? 2 goals. As you already said, a dangerous scoreline. Let's not get ahead of ourselves. Porto have got their 2 best players back again, Tamiri and Oliveira. And I was just reading that they've contributed to over 40% of their goals, which makes me nervous. I was feeling confident, and now that they're back, that does make me nervous. As Pat said, our defence needs to be kind of rock solid tonight. But I do think we're going to have the edge and get through to the semis. And then we'll see about Istanbul. But save me a seat.
Well, we've all kind of alluded to it, so let's go to Play Predictor now, because the deadline's at 7 o'clock, so you need to make sure you get your predictions in if you can as quickly as possible. You can win a £100 Megastore voucher and a signed shirt if you top tonight's leaderboard. On Saturday, Emmanuel won it from Kenya with 70 points, which is a very good score. What we've gone for, I've gone 3-0, Pat's gone 1-0, Jason has gone 2-1, and Abby has gone 2-1. Lee, we've not got yours up here, mate, so what are you predicting for us today?
I'm being cautiously optimistic, but I'm going to go 2-0.
2-0. See, I like that. 2-0. I mean, in fairness, Lee, as well, you must be getting to know all the locals around there, because we've been in that stadium. It feels like every other week for the last couple of months. It looks like a very. I'm cautious to say it looks like a very homely environment for Chelsea. We've very much made ourselves at home there so far.
Certainly has. They'll be demanding council tax soon, won't they? But it's a beautiful stadium. It's a great setting. Lovely weather. We're getting attacked by insects because it's sort of early evening. It's dusk here at the moment, but I'm sure there won't be too many people feeling a bit of sympathy for me back home, because when I left yesterday, it was snowing when I got in the cab. So to be out here and sunning ourselves in I think it's about 16, 17 degrees, it's not bad, is it?
I did see that as well, Lee, on the Instagram. That obviously the players do this at all games where they have a little wander around the sort of the local area and stuff like that. But it really struck me as, and I've seen it notable games like this, but especially ahead of a quarter-final, second leg of a Champions League, everyone looks so relaxed and looks so calm and kind of just soaking it all up and enjoying it. Is there a little bit of the fact that we've been there before, the surroundings, that familiarity, and also we've got such a good record there this season? Is there that little bit of composure and calmness coming into tonight?
It does feel quite calm, And speaking to Thomas Tuchel again yesterday, he is always quite calm. He speaks so objectively, doesn't he? But he's focused. He knows what needs to be done. But he's very good at radiating that calmness, and it does soak through. And you can see that in the players that were out here training on the pitch behind us yesterday. They did a fairly sort of short, light session, but they were enjoying it. Certainly enjoying the weather. But they seem to be enjoying themselves at the moment. Obviously, there was the slip up a couple of weeks back that we alluded to with that West Brom game. Aside from that, they're looking a pretty decent side at the moment, aren't they?
Absolutely right. Jay, did you feel that as a player where you'd go to somewhere that perhaps you've got a really good record, you've got some good results in the recent past? Did you feel that extra sort of that calmness going into a ground that you've got a good history on?
Not really. I mean, every game is different. Every team is different. Every manager is different. It does make me smile sometimes when you see statistics come out that maybe West Bromwich Albion haven't beaten Liverpool at Anfield for 40 years, yet for maybe 20 of those years they've been playing in a different division. I think that we've got to go into this game aware of the fact that this is a stadium we've done very well in. And this is really, on the back of that, asking a question to everyone else here. The fact that we beat them in the same stadium last week, I wonder how that is, because even though this is the home tie for us, they will set up differently because they have to get back into it as the attacking side, or certainly the away side, to get that away goal. So I'm asking everyone here, do we think that they will be different now in the same state? Do you understand the question I'm asking? It's the same stadium. Nothing should change. We should go and win this game quite comfortably, but we know the away goals changes everything, right?
Just on that, Lee, because I don't know if you know this, and I'm putting you on the spot a little bit here, but are Chelsea in the home dressing room tonight and then Porto in the away, or is it the same dressing rooms as last week? Obviously, the COVID protocol means that perhaps some might not be used in some specific grounds, but is there that familiarity or not?
Yeah, they're in the same dressing rooms as last week, but they branded it differently. So they are the home team, and they've basically got the same dugouts. I don't know if you can see over my shoulder, that's the Chelsea dugout that they had last week. That stayed the same. We've got the banner over there, if you can see behind me, below the big screen, just to give it the Matthew Harding feel for the players, a bit of familiarity. So, yeah, as you rightly said, they are the home team. But I think, from a protocol perspective, largely the same as last week. There's a bit of a delay in team news, by the way, I've been told. I think there's a bit of a delay in Porto submitting a team sheet to UEFA. So that's the reason we're a little later than normal with regards to the team news. But it's coming, trust me.
No problem at all. Hey, it's all mind games at this level. I'm a very sceptical person. I'll tell you what, let's go into a hot topic one for tonight then, which is it's kind of great selection headache for Thomas Tuchel. Pat, the performance at the weekend, this is why I've gone 3-0, because I was very buoyant after that result. We could have been playing Barcelona in the Nou Camp today, and I'd have gone 5-0. I think I was that high after the weekend, how well we played. But there is that headache for the manager today, because he's got so many players that are playing so well that whoever misses out tonight, it's not really a case of that's a big thing because he's out. It's more a case of someone's played their way in rather than played their way out, isn't he?
Yeah, but so many good players, as you say. But just looking at Saturday's team, it's going to be really difficult to move those front three, as it were, if you call them a front three. Obviously, Havertz was absolutely fantastic. Pulisic, he scores the 2 goals, and Mason Mount is indeed Mason Mount. So you can't really do it. You're looking at 3. Now, Thomas Tuchel makes lots of changes and he surprises us now and again. But I think those 3, they look almost immovable in this one. But if he does make a change, and it may well be that he thinks, it might be one of those guys who's needed for later on in the game to come on and do something exciting and use his pace or whatever. The other thing he has to take into consideration is what Jason's talking about there a minute ago. They're going to be the same team we're playing against. Well, not one. They're going to play 4-4-2 tonight. I am absolutely certain of that, other than if they've got injuries. They prefer 4-4-2. That's the way they like to play. Couldn't play against us last time because they didn't have Taremi up front. If Marega and Taremi are there, they will have a 4-4-2. They will be very, very open. So that might have an effect on what Thomas Tuchel goes for as well.
That's the interesting part, isn't it, Abby, I suppose, because you don't want to get too caught up with how the opposition are going to play, but I suppose there's not a huge amount you can take from last week, because they have to set up completely different. They've got to go for the game at some point, whether that be, whether their game plan is to keep it tight for the first 45 and attack the second half. So I suppose there is a little bit for the manager to decide. Perhaps there's not so much a case of we'll just keep the same team play as you are, because it's a very different game to the first leg last week.
Yeah, and they really need to come out and score quickly, don't they, in Porto, and make their mark. So I do think it's going to be a different game. For that reason, I wouldn't be surprised if maybe we played a more defensive players, like maybe James on the wing and also Chilwell. I don't know, though. It's so hard, isn't it, to always know what the opposition's going to do. But I'm always confident in these games because of our squad depth. I really am.
I completely agree. Jay, going into big games, do you have a look at the opposition, or do you kind of just worry about yourself and focus on your own job and going into it rather than sort of getting preoccupied with the opposition?
I think both. I think there's a mixture of both. You have to respect what the opposition are going to do, and Pat's alluded to it, anticipate what the opposition is going to do. But at the same time, know that we are in a nice position. We can perhaps, if we were losing this 2-0, our team selection would probably be very different for what it's going to be tonight. So it's about...
Sorry to jump in, Jay, because you're absolutely right, mate. Lee has got the team news for us now. We've got the green light from UEFA, I believe, Lee. Yes. There was a big arm on the back that's come off you now, and you're allowed. The handbrake's gone. Feel free, mate.
Looking over my shoulder. We haven't got the Porto team yet, but the Chelsea team is as follows. The boss makes 3 changes from the team that beat Palace, with that all-important front 3 that Pat was alluding to as well. So it's Mendy and goal, a back 3 of Azpilicueta, Thiago Silva and Tony Rudiger. Reece James, Ben Chilwell, your wing-backs, Itsangolo, Kante coming back in alongside Jorginho in the double 6, with Mount, Pulisic and Havertz as the, I guess, false 9, as we've come accustomed to saying.
Jace, what do you think of that, mate? What do you think of the team tonight?
I thought Giroud might start, and I thought Christensen might start. He's not played a lot of minutes, Thiago, since he's been back since that red card. I know he come off the bench in the first leg, so I'm slightly surprised that my team would have been different. I'd have had Giroud up top because I felt we struggled to get out in the first leg, and I expect them to press high, expect them to do what they did, because I thought they were very effective in doing what they do. And the problem they had for me was that they didn't use that press and didn't create enough chances to cause Mendy problems. So I'd have gone with Giroud and I'd have gone with Christensen. But hey, that's why I'm sitting here, not in Seville next to Lee.
No, not at all, mate. But that's the conversation we have every week. Is we never know the team that Thomas Tuchel's going to select, because he's got best part of 25, 26 superstars that can come in and do a job at any game. But Pat, I wonder if the Thiago Silva inclusion is perhaps a little bit of a nod to say, look, you do need experience on nights like tonight. And if you've got someone that's played in the final last year, has got 80 odd caps for Brazil and won pretty much everything there is, and won a lot under the manager as well, he knows he can trust him. He knows to sort of get through the game. And like we saw in the Atletico game, the celebrations and the coaching that Thiago Silva was doing from the touchline, to have him in the back 3 is a big positive tonight.
But you have got this balance, and we might as well mention it. He didn't have a good game in his first game back. He looked as if he wasn't at match speed. And that's hard to do. You've been out for a long time. Did he miss 10 games? And if you're that age, you don't always just cruise in again. But that experience is as good as anyone on the planet in that position. So that probably is the reason why he's pushed in. In fact, that is the reason why he's pushed in this sort of game. He understands what he's capable of doing and what he can get out of the players around him. The other thing to keep in mind, we play 3 at the back. They're going to play 2 up front. So it's actually right. It fits. So it fits that we're kind of comfortable with that. And I think Thiago Silva will be comfortable in that position, but he's going to have to be at game pace and at match pace just now. I agree that the other question mark is, Kai Havertz or, Giroud for this one. I think that's a tough one, because Havertz against Palace, wow. I'm not sure we had quite as good an effect in the game against Porto and that. So you take both things into account. I'm actually very happy that Havertz and Mount and Pulisic are the front 3 at the moment. I'm delighted with that. I think we need a chance to have a go together as a unit, because it looks so good and the move's so good and the confidence is absolutely coursing through the 3 of them.
just going back to Thiago Silva, Lee, because we see him, he's such a positive influence, and even sort of when he's, I noticed that when he was getting on the plane, the reading that he was doing, he was reading a book about the New Zealand All Blacks and stuff like that, and everything that he does screams leadership about him. To have someone like him around the camp is so important, isn't it?
100%. He probably won't thank me for saying this, but we were sat where I am here for the game last week. He was sat the other side of that railing there, just in the red zone. And honestly, he was so vocal throughout before coming on. He was coaching. And to the point where Thomas Tuchel came out, turned around, looked at him. He was like, so, what do you think? And they were just having a bit of a conflab. There was a break in play in the first half, and having a bit of a conflab. And they were talking about like Reece James's positioning. And it was brilliant. Really, really. And his English was excellent as well. It's like, Reece. And he's directing traffic from up here. It's fantastic to see and hear.
Abby, I think he's invoicing for a player coach role for next month, isn't he? If he's doing both from the touchline, that must be amazing. If you're a young player, not only in training but in a game, having him talking you through it, whether he's on the pitch or not.
Yeah, absolutely. He's a real leader, isn't he? And I interviewed Reece James recently, actually, and he said how much Thiago Silva has taught him. And he said after every training session, he's kind of pulling him aside and going, "You do need to work on this, but you are really good at this." And I just love that. These young players can learn so much from a world-class player and leader in him. So, yeah, you love to see it.
He's incredible, isn't he? Lee, thank you so much for your input, mate. Go and get yourself ready because you've got a lot of pre-match duties, I hear, today of playing the big role.
Well, as it's effectively the home tie, I get to do the stadium announcing. So I'm going to be, for the game, I'm going to be right up in that top corner. And the poor girl from Seville that's working with me, bless her, she doesn't speak a word of English. So I felt a bit like Colin Firth in Love Actually. I was like trying to explain what we were doing. Mate,
it's
fantastic.
I'm 380 days deep on Duolingo. I'll text you some phrases. Don't worry about it. It's all good. We'll get by together. Time to have a little listen to what the boss had to say in our exclusive interview with Lee Parker ahead of tonight's massive game. Cool. 2 minutes.
Legend. Thanks, guys.
Cheers, Lee. Thank you, mate. Have a good one.
It's good to see you all. Cheers, guys.
See ya, mate. Good luck.
Thank you. Cheers, guys. See ya.
This is weird. The lineups only give you the substitutes.
It was a very close match because Porto is a very difficult side to play against. They make things look hard. They make things complicated for you. Not one match in Champions League was a easy cruising pretty match for the opponents. This does simply not exist against them. I think the tone is set now. We escaped with a very, very good result with 2 away goals with a clean sheet. But would have been better to have a home game in the 2-0. Gives you the advantage to maybe decide it with 1 away goal. But it's like this, so no complaints here. But the tone is set, and I feel Porto as a very proud club, a very emotional club, but very proud, and they know how to win titles, they know how to win games. And now, it's always like this, now the situation is more clear than before. Before the first game, you never know how does this first one ends. The second games, there are no more second guessing. The situation is clear, and they will do everything to turn this around, and it was a pretty even game, so we should not get too carried away with that 2-goal lead. It could be easily also could have been easily also a draw. So the momentum was on our side, and this is the target, to push the momentum back, to fight hard to have it back on our side in the second leg. This will be the task for it.
Our hot topic 2 for tonight, Pat is going to hammer me for. 1 foot in the semis. So that's our hot topic 2 for tonight. So I'm going to start with you, Pat. We've done a lot of hard work in the first 90 minutes to make sure we're in a good position. I know that, and I don't want to, this isn't a former player thing, but I know as former players, you never take a game for granted. You never look ahead, too far ahead, and I completely respect that. However, who do you fancy if we get into the semis, Real Madrid or Liverpool?
Right, first of all, this isn't superstition. I ain't got a superstitious bone in my body, right? I just don't like people who say, you were talking about the semi-final before you even got there, and putting it online and hammering for it. Because trust me, that's exactly what was going to happen. That's why no footballers ever go push it ahead. because they know that they'll get slapped in the face for it, and rightly so. Having said that, it's a tough one. I think I was quite surprised that Real Madrid did actually really quite well in that first leg, and I was at the Liverpool game that weekend, and they're still a long way off. They're a long way off. So I expect it would be Real Madrid who'll be waiting there for whoever wins this tie.
Jace, I didn't ask you purposely because I know you well enough to say that there's not a day on the calendar that you'll be supporting Liverpool in the second leg. So I know very much who you'd like in the semi-final. And me and Abby are getting very excited about. We've been talking about Istanbul for months already. Since we beat Krasnodar in the group, I've been talking about Istanbul. But there's obviously no complacency, but you have to dare to dream, don't you? You have to have that in your eye line. And also, the reason that we're so positive as Chelsea fans about this is because of the quality within the squad. The fact that Thomas Tuchel's got teams playing like that. If you're opposition players, if you're an opposition team, you're looking at Chelsea going, okay, they mean business. They are a good side, and they're certainly a side that you want to avoid. So whoever we get in the semi-final, if we get that far, if we get the result tonight, of course, they won't fancy it either.
What are you doing to me? That's the answer. What are you doing? What are you trying to do to me? Look, this game is not over, okay? And you may well have noticed in the WhatsApp group that we have, I've never responded to anything Istanbul. Okay, and there's a reason for that. This tie is not over because if they get the first goal in the game, which they could, the game is on. The game is on, and I'm not gonna be drawn into a conversation like Pat wasn't about who we're going to face, and who we want. Let's just take care of business tonight. There's 90 minutes of hard graft that needs to be taken care of. I can't even think about the final. I dream, of course I do, and I don't care. I meet in the semi-final. I would prefer Real Madrid. I don't want to play Liverpool. Probably they don't really want to face us. But right now, I'm only too aware that the Champions League has thrown up, as we have shown. We were 3-1 down away at Napoli, right? And that, no one gave us a chance because we were just changed manager. We had a really tough season. I can't even bring myself to answer any questions about that. Let's get through this. Let's take care of tonight's business, and then after the game, let's have the conversation.
Abby, that's why we're here as fans, because we can get excited about it, and I appreciate, and I did it on purpose to put Jason and Pat in an awkward situation like it, because let's have it absolutely right. If I was a former player, I'd be saying exactly the same, and to be honest, I've had to go double over to believe in it, to dream it, because I genuinely have that amount of confidence. But like the boys have said, they are a very good side, Porto. You've already alluded to the fact they've got Sergio Oliveira back, or we believe he's back available. I'm not quite sure on the Porto squad just yet, but believe he's back available, and as is Taremi as well. Playing, there you go. So they've got their main players back into it. They've got Pepe. They've got experience. They've got a very good manager. They've put in good performances against Juventus and Man City. It's not over. Of course it isn't. It's far from over. But also, those 2 away goals, the fact that Chelsea are in such a commanding position, it's Chelsea's to lose almost tonight, isn't it?
Yeah, we've got a little cushion going into it, but it's still going to be an absolute battle, isn't it? Porto were good in the first leg. We can't forget that. They did give us a hard game. It was, not easy by any means. And they're going to come hungry today, really wanting to get that first goal. And then, as Jason said, it's on. So we need to be at our best. But I do feel confident. Normally on days like this, I get sort of super nervous before. You'll probably see my face shift in about 5 minutes and the nerves set in. But I feel like recently we've kind of really unlocked the attacking potential that Chelsea has. So I feel good, and I feel like we're going to score a couple of goals today. And then, we are off to the semi-finals.
Oh, she said that.
That's what I love. That's what I love. No. You do not need to apologise for that at all, Abby. Jay, but you were right. Away goals still count, which seems like it's very difficult to get your head around away goals counting when you play 2 games in the same venue, neither being a home leg or an away leg for either team. But like you said, that will lend itself to Porto being able to attack the game a little bit more from the off. Does that play into Chelsea's hands if that's how they go about it? If they look to come out, if they look to play and look to go for it with the pace that Chelsea have got in the front three, and the counter-attacking football we played on Saturday, that helps Chelsea, does it not?
Well, they're only 2-0 down. If they don't have to score in the first half an hour, What they don't want to do, they don't want to concede that first goal, because if they do, the tie is probably over. Probably, not definitely, but probably over. If they get it, the tie is very much alive. And I think they'll play the way they did in the first leg. They played a high pressing game, and actually it was quite effective. And I felt that had they had a little bit more quality up top, they might have caused us a few more problems. But what they don't want to do is give that first goal away. So I expect them to be, personally going into this game, if I was the Porto manager, I would try and impose myself in the game, but at the same time, do not leave yourselves open. For example, do not be throwing your fullbacks high and wide initially. Do not overcommit, because we are very capable of playing through a press. And if we do, and we get that first goal, that kills them. So I think the first 20 minutes will be a little bit of both. Pressing, but then making sure they do not overcommit to allow us back in, because you're right, we have got pace. And we have proven in the first leg we are capable of killing this tie off. We should have scored more than 2 on the day. 2 was enough. But so I think that they will go into it with their eyes wide open about how this game needs to be played.
There we go. Then so much more to talk about. The build-up to Chelsea-Porto continues here, of course, on the Fifth Stand and across our social media channels. But first, let's take a look at yesterday's pre-match press conference with the boss.
Hi, Thomas. How are you?
I'm fine, thanks.
Thomas, you spoke last week about how it's difficult for any team to play a nice, fluid, pretty game against a team like Porto. So does that mean you might take a bit more of a direct approach tomorrow night?
Well, we tried in the first leg and it did not work out. Did not always work out during this match. I think you have to accept against Porto that it's a little bit of up and down. In some minutes, you can push them with quality back to their own half. In some minutes, we manage to control the match, to create half chances, to find some space and for acceleration, to have good counter pressing. In some minutes, they escape the pressure. In some minutes, they can be very, very dangerous with runs, with dribblings, and with individual quality. Sometimes they overload sides and make you really, may give you a lot of questions to answer. They're very strong in set pieces. So it's a little bit of that. So in the first leg, we experienced this a little bit of a up and down, that you don't control a whole half or more than 5 to 10 minutes. And then the momentum shifted a little bit. And this is maybe what you have to accept against them. And what we have to accept for tomorrow, if it happens again, don't worry, it's normal. It happened in all Champions League matches against City, against Juventus. It's a totally normal thing because they have a lot of quality. They are a proud club, a very emotional team with and this is what we have to accept, and that we should not over expect from us or lose our tempo or lose patience because of these moments where it's getting difficult.
Ian Bolton, Sky Sports News.
Thomas, hi.
Hi.
But you play against Porto and then you've got Manchester City at the weekend. Just how significant are these next 2 matches for you in terms of finishing the season with a trophy?
Yeah, well, if we want to finish the season with a trophy, we should better win both matches. Otherwise, could be difficult. Otherwise, could be difficult because Premier League title will not be our job to lift a trophy at the last match day of Premier League this season. Yeah, but what does it help to reflect too much about it? I mean, we have to play the game tomorrow at 8 o'clock, and the most important for me is that we are fully focused on what we do, that we forget that we have already a result, that we forget what we did in Crystal Palace, because it's the past, and there's nothing more uninteresting in football than the past. Everything that counts in high-level sports is the next competition, and the next match arrives tomorrow. So full focus on tomorrow. We can be absolutely self-confident because we have a strong squad. We have a strong bond in the squad. The squad can rely always on their work rate, always on their intensity. We are always tough. We are always a tough team to play against, and so the fight is on for tomorrow. Don't be afraid of nothing. Take the chances which are there, and that means we play in 3 competitions, and hopefully at the end of the week, we are still in there in 3 competitions. Tomorrow is no trophy to win. Saturday is no trophy to win. But of course, these are matches where you take decisive steps in the competitions. We are well aware. Everybody can discuss their heads and break their heads about it. But we are there to play football, and this is the target, and this is the challenge actually, to not lose focus.
Sergio Oliveira.
Hello, Mr. Thomas Tuchel. Sergio Oliveira from Sport TV Portugal. You, of course, have the advantage and the home advantage, whatever that means, in Sevilla. How does this change your approach to the match? Can we expect a more passive Chelsea, expecting the approach of Porto to maybe get some mistakes from the Portuguese team?
We don't approach games like this to talk about the result we have and then change the approach to our game. I think for us it's important that we, in the end, get fully focused on us and play the best game possible again, because this increases all the chances to have a result. I think in terms of adapting to the result, is easier for Porto because they know very, very well what they need to do. They need to score 3 goals if they want to go through. So for them, it's absolutely clear. For us, if we start in this, we could absolutely lose our head, because what does it mean? That is enough to lose 1-0, it's good to have a draw, it's better to have a 1-0 for us. Why should we enter in this thinking? This is the challenge, to not lose your head about this. Just go out and do good training today. I hope we embrace the challenge. I hope we feel it, that this is a match that everybody waits for since he's a little kid and a little boy. Everybody wants to play Champions League. Everybody wants to be part of it. Everybody wants to have a decisive match. And forget the result. Like I said, it's the past. We have to deliver again tomorrow. If we don't deliver, you cannot expect any results. So we should rely on what we do good and what we are best in, and we will not change our approach to a game because of a result that we had last week. We are what we are, and we have a certain way of playing, and we will try to bring it to the best level, and then we see. Because the game will ask many questions that we cannot think about right now, and we have to be free in our minds to react on all situations on the pitch.
Nick Purewall.
Hi Thomas, you said at the weekend that obviously Kai Havertz doesn't need to be an emotional leader for you. That's obviously not his natural way. I just wondered, who is your emotional leader? Obviously you said Porto are an emotional side. Just wondered who your emotional leaders are, and given the context of the match you've just been talking about, how important will it be for them to set the tone tomorrow night?
No, honestly, you don't want to be in a fight with Toni Rüdiger and Aspi and Kova and all our emotional guys. You don't want to be in a fight with them, because they're ready to fight, and it's their nature to show it on the pitch and to protect the interests of our team, which is very, very important. But what was the second part of the question?
And just how important will it be for those guys like Tony and those guys to set
they are there. They are
match?
there, and we can rely on them because it's their nature. Nobody needs to do stuff which is against their nature. You can totally rely on them. I think that it's, for me, when I was a player on lower level, and for me it was always important when you have big matches, when you can feel the tension, you look around in the dressing room, and when you go out of the tunnel, you look around who's next to me, and you feel confident. And I'm pretty sure that our guys feel very, very comfortable when they look around and see whom they can rely on. The best thing tomorrow, nobody needs to do it alone. Nobody. We are out there together. Everybody on the pitch will help each other, and we will help from the bench and from the stands and the guys who come off the bench. We do this together tomorrow, and we will push hard for the best outcome. You can be absolutely sure. And that means that we have 90 minutes to fight for, a minimum of 90 minutes to fight for, and we will do it to achieve a big goal.
Jacob Steinberg.
Hi, Thomas. It's good to have N'Golo back after the hamstring injury that he picked up on international duty. I'm just wondering, with such a huge week coming up, how do you feel he is at the moment? Is he able to, fit in these 2 games in such a short space of time potentially? Are you having to manage him in a different way because he obviously has now quite a long history of hamstring problems?
Yeah, first of all, I was unbelievably happy when he told me that he will travel with us last week to Sevilla, because I didn't expect it. The plan was that he arrives in the game against Crystal Palace. So he arrived before, which was amazing. He was confident enough to go on the pitch. He was strong enough to help us the last 15, 20 minutes with all his quality and intensity. So now he lacked a bit. He lacked the downside of this decision and of this wonderful decision and situation was that he lost a bit sleep after the travel issues from Sevilla back. That he lost more workload in training because he was here sitting on the bench playing only 20 minutes. The next day he suffered from traveling. He could not train like he's normally would use to train. So that was the downside. We decided again to bring him from the bench against Crystal Palace. And honestly, this decision I will take tomorrow morning when I see him today in training, and then when we reflect on all the others, how they feel in central midfield. Normally it's hard to imagine a game like this without Ng on the same time. We need to really be absolutely careful about him personally, that we don't take risks with his health and with his injury situation. So the question maybe for tomorrow is, do we want him to start or do we absolutely want him to finish the game for us? Because there's also a possibility of 120 minutes. This is the question, and honestly is not answered yet. I will do this tomorrow morning with my staff.
Last question, James Robson.
Hi, Thomas.
Yeah, hi.
When you arrived and you took over, you were very honest. You didn't hide from the fact that there was pressure on you to win trophies straight away at Chelsea, despite the position they were in. I wonder if, given your record in this competition, given the two-legged nature of it as well, did you see the Champions League as maybe your best chance of a trophy in this first season?
But we have FA Cup also. We are in semi-final. Once you are in second leg in a quarter-final in Champions League, you will not find any team who does not have the goal to arrive in semi-final and from there in final. You will simply not find it. They are all competitors, and we are in semi-final of the FA Cup. That means we play to arrive in the final, and if we arrive, we will play to win it. Like you said, I was very clear because there is nothing to hide. Chelsea is a club that provides a structure and a culture and the quality to any team and to any coach where you can win titles, where you can win games consecutive. And if you win games consecutive, you can, of course, win titles, because Chelsea is the club that has the culture and the history and the mentality to do so, and the quality and the structure. So I am here to win titles, I'm here to win games, and as a result to win titles. This is what I demand of myself. So why should we now say anything different, that we want to win in 5 years or in 2 years or in 3 years? I don't know what's then. Now is the time. But honestly, we can talk on now for hours and hours and we can admit it, but tomorrow is a game to play, and there is no tougher match than the next game, and there is no other obstacle than to overcome than Porto tomorrow. And we should not get lost in dreams and hopes and speeches and whatever. We are here to focus the reality and to accept the reality. And the reality is that we have a hard battle to fight in second leg of quarterfinal. And this is what we do. And hopefully after tomorrow we can talk about semi-final. But first is we need to deliver. Me as a coach, my staff, and the players in the end on the pitch. And this is why we are here.
Only 4 teams have won more Champions League quarter-final matches than the Blues. That's good, isn't it? A win not necessarily needed tonight for Thomas Tuchel's side. They take a 2-0 advantage from last week into tonight's game, but we are 90 minutes away from a potential Champions League semi-final. Get it done tonight. We'll be in a very, very good position tonight. Who better to talk us through a Champions League run than a man who has lived it? Steve Sidwell, thank you for joining us. Steve, how are you, mate?
Good evening. How are we? All right? All good?
Hey.
Oh, great.
All good, mate. So, obviously, we'll come to tonight's game in a minute, but what did you make of last week? Obviously, a very good position to be in, but what did you make of the game as a whole?
I thought it was, the best way you could put it is probably a professional performance. You know, they had their moments where they looked brilliant. They looked their moments where they looked a bit shaky, a little bit ropey, but on the whole, they got the goals at the vital times. You know, goals change games. There's no better saying than that. And they got the goals at the right times, put them in a real comfortable position, a real healthy position. You got to hope now that they play tonight on the front foot. And, you know, again, tonight there'll be moments where they have to soak up the pressure. That's part and parcel of the game. Can their players step up and score and get some vital goals to get them through?
I feel a little bit cautious asking this question because I asked a similar one to the boys beforehand, but you're obviously part of that team that made it to the final in 2008. When did you start to think about a final? What was it literally at full time against Liverpool? Or did you start to believe midway through the run that you got it in you?
I mean, to be fair, that season really was kind of a bit of a blur because so much happened with Jose leaving, Avram Grant coming in. There was meetings after meetings with sort of the leaders that was in the dressing room at that time. I've got to be honest. I've got to say, right up until the Liverpool game, I really have. I've got, especially at that time as well, when the games against Liverpool was so fierce, the rivalry was huge. And then going into it, though, I've got to say, going into that Man United game in Moscow, they was, especially lads that were starting, they were so confident to get the job done. They really were. And unfortunately, it just wasn't to be. I mean, we were speaking earlier about the 2012 run, and you know, Chelsea wasn't by far the best team in that campaign, you know, by a mile. But just a little bit of luck, and we'll see.
That interests me a little bit because you said about obviously the unrest and Jose leaving and Avram Grant coming in. You know, there are certain parallels that could run with this season. In fact, you know, with Frank going and Thomas Tuchel coming in, also in a very weird turn of events, we could end up playing Liverpool in the semi-final if results go our way and we play that way. But I wonder if perhaps when Champions League and big games come around, it's almost like a little bit of a healthy distraction because you're only focused on such a big game that the noise around it doesn't happen. Did you sense that in the camp?
Yeah, always. I mean, listen, when you're at a club like Chelsea, they're going to go through to most competitions enough all the way. So cup games are there thick and fast, especially towards the end of the season. Similarities to this year, I'd say after that international break, that West Brom game, I think was huge. I think that's a real blessing in disguise for Chelsea. And it's given them a little kick up the backside to say, listen, you've done well, don't rest on your laurels. And I think they've been superb since then. They've gone out. And sometimes you need them little moments in the season where they come, whether it's at the beginning, midway through, or where we are now to sort of the business end, where that little kick up the backside can give you a real strong back end to the season.
It's interesting, isn't it, Pat? Because like Steve said there, you come back after an international break and there's such a long sort of break between club games that I feel now we're even more sort of aware of them. But it did feel that we were just going to carry on. So perhaps there is that little element of saying that when things are broken up, you know, we've not got a Premier League game for I think 10 days or whatever it is now. We've got a Champions League game tonight, an FA Cup semi-final on Saturday. We've got so many things that are happening. Does that change of scenery being competition help a little bit?
I generally think most players just think, well, I've got a game on. Doing this game, you know, you just need to deal with it. And it's an old cliche. You deal with every game as it comes in. A lot of the guys who actually played international games, remember, they were important ones as well to them, massively important to the country. So you're not going away and having, you know, lying in a deck chair. You're getting back and you're working your socks off. So, but I would, to go back to Steve's point about that is a blessing in disguise. I 100% agree. I think we needed that a little bit because we were cruising through it. We didn't look as if we were going to slip at all. And then that happened. And it's only 45 minutes. But can you imagine us doing that again and having that sort of attitude again? No chance. I mean, we are unlucky as well. The sending off, all that sort of stuff. But that was a time to tighten this up again, make sure we go back to the basics of the defending particularly and do exactly the right things. But as for players coming back and thinking of different trophies, nah, you just go every game and you try and win every game at this time of the year. That's what you do.
I'll tell you what, Pat, well, you and Steve have kind of already mentioned it, but our hot topic 3 for tonight is what a way to bounce back after West Brom, because, you know, that's exactly what was required, really, Jason, wasn't it? I don't think any of us, even sort of us being biased Chelsea fans, we didn't feel it was a blip. You felt it was perhaps just a bit of a wake-up call, a bit of a little bit of almost like a rap on the knuckles to say, okay, it's not done yet, you know, we're flying, but there's still a lot of work to do. Do you think that, like the boys have said, that was a blessing in disguise, and from that, we'll look back in 3 or 4 months and hopefully, you know, with a bit of silverware in the cabinet, go, that was the moment that, you know, things really switched up a little bit?
It feels like it, doesn't it? No one saw it coming. We were well beaten. West Brom, every attack or every shot on target seemed to hit the back of the net. And you sometimes get games like that. Over that 90 minutes, a few things changed. So much happened in the game. And I remember doing the Zoom call with you guys after. I couldn't remember who scored Chelsea's first goal. Because so much happened between that and Pulisic, it was, and the final whistle. And I think it is. I think Steve and Pat are right. There is a little bit of time for reflection. I think when a result like that comes around, you then have to refocus and say, look, that can't happen again. We were poor defensively, but as the game developed, we almost had to be. We were duty bound to attack and almost leave space, leave opportunities for West Brom. And the way that Allardyce set his team up after that was to be on the front foot. We saw last night against Southampton, actually, they're not a bad side on the front foot. Let's draw a line under it. It's happened. What can we go? What can we benefit from that? Well, the right thing we can benefit is making sure we turn things around. And have we done it in some style as well? Because we have been excellent since then. The goal against Palace was a disappointment. And that's another timely reminder that even though we don't look like conceding throughout the 90 minutes, in a second you can change and a goal is scored. So, yeah, I think it has been one of those, on reflection, maybe a blessing in disguise that makes us refocus.
Steve, we've had this conversation between us on Matchday Live numerous times over the last sort of 2 or 3 months when we've been in games. It doesn't feel like Chelsea are going to concede goals. I think that was why the West Brom game kind of come along and shocked us a little bit, because it wasn't even a case of riding our luck in games. It just looked like it wasn't conceivable that Chelsea were going to concede goals. So when that does happen, I suppose as a player, it's the first thing you're looking at thinking, okay, well, let's not lose sight about the fact that we were supremely confident in the way that we were defending. Perhaps it is one of those days you just put it down to that and move on from it, or do you have to look deeper than that?
No, I don't think I have to look deeper than that, because the evidence wasn't creeping into that. It purely was a kind of one-off game. I mean, the goals that West Brom scored in that game were outstanding. I mean, the finishes were, as a football player, I mean, I'm talking to someone that's been on the pitch and I'm watching them chances going, they're not easy finishes. Every one of them was taken very well. And I'm sure all them lads would have gone in the dressing room after, disappointed with the result, and just sat there and looked at each other and just gone, I can't believe that today. I can't believe they just scored. West Brom just absolutely battered us and scored 10 out of 10 goals. So it'll just, well, listen, put it to bed, into training, work hard, next game, rejig, refocus, and they've done it in style, as Jay said.
Absolutely right. Well, I'll tell you what, let's remind ourselves of getting back to that fantastic performance last week in Seville that's put us in a very good position for tonight's game.
Porto waking up into this first leg. In theory, as Uribe hits a speculative but pretty accurate effort. Midway through the first half, another Otavio corner. Keepers is the shout, and that was awkward. Headed back across and then put over by Zaidu.
This corner is flying in towards that near post. He just gets across and palms it away.
It's goalless, but it's not dull. That's a great take from Mount!
Yeah.
Away goal for Chelsea. Beautifully made. Patient but incisive. Scores his first in the Champions League. And Chelsea strike first in this quarter-final away leg. It's an interesting ball in the channel. Rudiger dithered and Mendy saves. And it's a big save because that looked goal-bound. Chelsea looking for number 2 here. Oh, Pulisic, what a hit. Goodness. Smashes the frame of the goal. Chilwell read that brilliantly. Ben Chilwell going through, going round the keeper, surely it's 2! It was Emerson against Atletico at the end. It's Ben Chilwell tonight in Seville. There's the whistle to confirm a wonderful winning return to Champions League quarter-final action for Chelsea. Porto 0, Chelsea 2.
Abby, it was a magical night last week, and it does feel as Chelsea fans we've been spoilt a little bit, haven't we? Really, because getting to the quarterfinals of the Champions League, we almost take for granted a little bit, and we've done this countless times now. We've got positive results. I mean, that stat that Chelsea, there's only 4 teams that have won more quarterfinals than Chelsea in Champions League history it shows how spoilt we've been. But when you look at last week and you look at tonight, so there's such special occasions to be involved with as fans, as players. Obviously, as fans, we'd love to be out there, but I suppose there's a little bit that you've got to kind of soak it up a little bit and know that we're this good, but we're in this position that you can't take for granted. And if we can't get a result tonight, then it's kind of our own making, as it were.
Yeah, exactly. Like you say, it's kind of about thinking about the game at hand rather than doing what me and you are doing and thinking a few steps ahead and thinking about Istanbul, But Chelsea have got an amazing history with the Champions League, and I do feel confident in tonight's game. But yeah, let's go in, score a couple more goals, and then we can all relax.
Steve, you've gone 2-0 in your play predictor video that we saw on the Chelsea socials and on the Fifth Stand earlier today. How do you think today's game will differ from last week? Obviously, you've gone the same scoreline, but how do you think the game will differ?
First and foremost, they got experience of playing against them, so they'll know their strengths and weaknesses. It's one thing coming up against them with doing an analysis and seeing videos of them. It's completely different when you play a team, when you're on the pitch, and then you get to know players' individual traits, sometimes their units, the way they work. So they've got the experience there. I don't think they'll look to dominate a bit of possession, the use of the surroundings of the stadium now, soak up a bit of pressure and then just hit fast counter-attacking football, which is what they do best. I'm really pleased that Pulisic is in. I thought he was outstanding against Crystal Palace, took his goals really well, come on, rattled the crossbar last week against Porto as well. And they've got pace to burn, down the wide areas as well with Chilwell and James. They've got deliveries in there. And I just think they'll look to just control the game, just put a professional performance in and just control the tempo and dictate the way that they want to play.
Pat, we've seen the lineups now, and obviously Sergio Oliveira is involved, but Taremi isn't, is he? So does it still look like they'll go 4-4-2? Do you think they'll still go for it, or do you think they'll be a little bit more cautious in their approach?
I have to say, I'm A, surprised and B, delighted. Because I expected them to really go for it. And I've, Taremi and Marega up front. When they're playing at their best in their domestic league, that's what they do. And they're comfortable in that. And whether they are going to do something else, the Tevez or Corona maybe goes up front alongside Marega. That may well be what they start with, knowing that they have to go and adapt and change it in the second half if they have to change it. Who knows? But, we just have to deal with what we've got. Interesting from our point of view, with no Kovacic, but Kante in there, that's a wee bit more security at the back, isn't it? I mean, N'Golo gives you more security than not just Kova, anybody in the world, really. So he's the best in the business at that. So it's kind of good to see that. And that's maybe the question about controlling the game is that may be a wee bit harder for us because they spent a lot of time closing down Jorginho. When they closed down Jorginho last week, it stopped us playing as well. When Jorginho got half a yard of space, he plays in Mason Mount and we score. So it's a wee bit harder for us to control games like that when we've not got Kova and Jorginho together because they love playing together so much. But hey, Kante's not bad, is he? Let's be fair.
He's not half bad, is he, Pat? You're right there. Someone you've also mentioned there is our one to watch tonight, and also the subject of our analysis. What a game this man had in the first leg. And we could say that for about 50 games this season. Is of course Mason Mount.
The thing about Mason Mount is he does everything right. That time there, just natural defending, be strong, get your body in the right place. But the big thing about him is his selflessness, always making the runs for other people, always doing the right thing. Put it into danger areas when you can. Don't wait. He does that. That's a very, very good chance he makes against Porto. But getting between the lines. There's the midfield. He's got between the lines there, but he's not stopped. He's made another move again, gets into a danger area and a decent shot and goal. And that area between the lines is imperative. Look at this. Once again, there's no defender coming out, no midfielder. But he doesn't stop. He makes another move. He runs in again, gets into a dangerous area. It's selflessness giving the guy outside him a good option. The other option is to put in good delivery. And this one is impossible to stop. Cuts him, comes on the end of it. Keeper can't come, it's perfect. But this is the moment of genius of the season so far from him. Again, slightly between the lines and gets on the end of it and is calm when he scores. He is top class at the moment.
Steve, you're joined by 4 members, fully paid up members of the Mason Mount fan club. What have you made of him this season? Because we could speak until well past kickoff about how impressed we've been. So what are your thoughts on him?
Well, I want to come in. I want to be chairman of that Mason Mount fan club.
You're in.
I mean, I'll be honest with you. He's the best player. He's the best player in the team, best player in the squad. You know, and he's one that not only Chelsea that can rely on. I think Gareth as well. You put him in the England fold. From talking to him and talking to players and staff that was there, give him instructions and he carries it out to a T. And as a coach or as a manager, if you've got players like that can do that and you can rely on them and trust them, then it goes such a long way. And he just keeps growing from strength to strength to strength, doesn't he? He's grown into that sort of position now to make it his own. What he's producing in terms of numbers-wise with assists and goals is starting to match his performances. And he deserves all the credit he's getting, still only at a young age as well. Phenomenal talent.
Steve, I need to not send you my script for next time you're on because you've literally just wiped out all of my Mason Mount content on that. Because Jay, my next question was going to be: does he start for England at the Euros?
I think it's hard to leave him out right now. What really does frustrate me a little bit is how other fans, maybe they don't want to see it, is that Mason is more than just hard work and graft. That actually is a skill set in itself because other players have it in abundance and other players perhaps don't necessarily naturally have that ability just to have 100% full tilt every single moment of every single game. And he sets the tone. This season, Steve's absolutely right. He's been our best player. He is the one that is the catalyst, I feel, for us getting higher up the pitch. And once he closes down, you watch the team close in and around him. He sets that motion. And once he's on that ball, it's quality. I have to say, I've been surprised at the rise and the consistent levels that he's maintained because we know he's been a good player. We know that he's been at Vitesse and he's been at Derby. And last season was his breakthrough year in the Premier League. Every time there's a step up, every time there's a new challenge, he answers it and he delivers. He's honestly, an amazing. We're so fortunate to have him. He can go on and be as good as he wants. When I say that, I'm talking the very highest level. If he can add more goals to his game, and I think they will come. We talk about his assists. Actually, the chances created, he has created a lot of chances that haven't been converted. That assists stat can sometimes be a little bit distorted because they're not taken. His actually chances created, I think he's in the top 5 in the Premier League. Trust me, we are very lucky. He can go on and be one of the best midfielders in the world. I genuinely believe that.
Jace has kind of already covered it there, Pat, but the consistency level I was going to ask you about, because I think tonight's his 52nd appearance for club and country this season, which is a remarkable amount of football, especially in such a truncated, congested season that we've had. The fact that he's replicating those levels again and again and again, and you know, this is no disrespect to any other football club, but he's playing in Champions League quarterfinals, he's playing in FA Cup semi-finals at the weekend, you know, and he's a player that you can rely on straight away at such a young age, like Steve's already touched on. That consistency, how impressive is that for him to have already developed and brought into his game?
Well, the very best players, that's what they bring. That's what they give. It's anything else above everything else. Now, I've got a book that tells you all the good things about footballers, right? So we've gone through every page and he's on every page, right? Everything you can say positive. The one thing maybe that I hadn't realised, and I've begun to realise more just the last little while, he actually makes players around him better as well.
Yeah.
That which is... yeah, and that's why he was made skipper there. For that game, he was made skipper. Because I watched him, and he was Callum Hudson-Odoi beside him. Callum's a better player. And I think if you put him beside Pulisic and Havertz, they're better players because they're moving for him. He's moving off them. There's good intelligence about his work as well. So, yeah, you're absolutely right. Each one of us would take one different thing but they're all very, very important. And yes, consistency's up there. But I'm absolutely stunned. A guy at that age is now making players that are real top international class players who are older than him with more experience than him. He's making them better. It's astonishing to see what he's done just now.
Just as a question for everyone. So we brought in Havertz for a big fee, Werner, Ziyech. What's Mason worth? Now, we're not going to say it, but I think it's an interesting question, bearing in mind he's only been at Chelsea, really, in the Premier League for the last 1.5 seasons.
I had this conversation with a friend of mine the other day, weirdly, because I said exactly the same as you. I don't see a price on him. Because everything that he brings to Chelsea, and the fact he's an academy graduate, he's captain the side already, his output, his consistency, the thought that he can get even better is frightening. So I don't think there is a price that you could get Mason Mount from. And Abby, like Jason's already pointed out there, everything that he brings, you talk about other players and you see clubs and you go, oh yeah, you take him. Everything seems to be lining up for Macy. I know it's only a silly thing, but even the fact that there's a mural outside Stamford Bridge that he was on, and how buzzing he was on his Instagram page to be there that close to it. The fact that he's still a fan, the fact that he still loves the club and wants to do everything. And there's the picture of him as an 8-year-old in the Chelsea kit, and then there's the picture next to him where he's got the armband on, walking out against Luton in the cup. Like, everything about Mason Mount is everything that Chelsea fans have wanted from a player for decades.
Yeah, he's just Chelsea through and through, isn't he? Mr. Chelsea, you can call him. And I know a lot of fans do call him. And I think that's one thing I love about him, that he's such a huge fan of the club. And as we've already discussed, he gives everything to every single game. And I think for me, he's a player that has it all. He's got skill, he's got pace. Now he's really bringing that attacking finesse to his game as well. But also, he's not afraid to get back and defend as well and get stuck in and, be vocal on the pitch and get the players around him to work harder as well. For me, he's a future captain of our football club, no doubt. And to be honest, potentially a captain for England. Just saying, I think he's got that just brilliant attitude and without a doubt the skills.
Completely agree. I think John Terry said that on Instagram a couple of weeks ago, didn't he, as well? So if you're getting the back in the JT to say you're going to captain your club and country, you're definitely doing something right. Let's run you through the team for tonight again then. In goal, Edouard Mendy for Chelsea. A back three, captained by Cesar Azpilicueta, Thiago Silva and Antonio Rudiger, Reece James and Ben Chilwell, N'Golo Kante, Jorginho, Mason Mount, Kai Havertz and Christian Pulisic as the three up top. Steve, when you see the team for tonight, obviously we spoke about how much Mount brings to that front three, but with Kai Havertz and with Christian Pulisic, you already alluded to the fact that you're impressed with how they did on Saturday. I suppose for both of them now, and Christian more so because he's been here a little while, he's been desperately unlucky with injuries, but I suppose it's about a run of games for those players, isn't it, really?
Oh, of course it is. I mean, you can train as much as you want. Nothing can replicate games, and especially when you're playing well in games, and they have been playing well recently. And when that happens, you just want games to keep coming and coming and coming. And that's what Chelsea have got at the moment. They're in cups. They're having 2 games a week. The season's coming to the real crunch time. And every player in that squad is going to want to be a part of that. And I've noticed that, especially when I was at Chelsea, towards the back end of the season, the training standard just goes up a notch, up a notch, up a notch, because everyone wants to get involved and play in the big games. So everyone's fighting for competitions, whether that's going to be the 2 right backs, how many midfielders there are. And everyone's just there's a little bit of needle in training going on because everyone wants to come that Saturday. Everyone wants to be on that first 11.
See, I love that. I love knowing that as well, because that's exactly what you want, though, is it? And I suppose, Steve, that the fact if you see other players that are in your position that are putting in that 10%, that drives you want to be even more. So the competition just runs in a big circle. That's when it comes to big games, then when you've got mentality, is there a little bit 10, 15 not 10, 15, but 10, 15 minutes before the end of training the day before you're going, all right, boys, leave it now. Let's just make sure that we'll get through this all right.
I mean, again, when I was at Chelsea, that season I was there, I've never seen tackles flying in training. I mean, I remember Essie nearly snapped Shevchenko in half. Honestly, I couldn't believe it. I was watching training like this, so I covered my eyes. And then, but I've got to say, one person that was probably not as full tilt as everyone else was Didier, but he kind of got away with it because when it comes to game day, he would stand up and just say, boys, give me the ball today and I'll win us the game. And there's people that can say it and don't back it up. And then there's people that do it and then do it in cup finals and winning goals. And that's the player that you've got.
Amazing. I already know that you've gone for Jorginho first goal scorer, haven't you, Steve, tonight?
Yeah, I've gone for a penalty. To be fair, I can just see us attacking, and with the pace that we've got up top, it'd be easy to probably call a goal scorer. So I've gone a bit left field and gone for a pen with Jorginho.
I like that. Then one word, Jace, first goal scorer.
I'm going to go Pulisic. After the weekend, sometimes you get on a run. Pulisic is one of those players for me. So anyone, I don't care.
Abby, first goal scorer.
Also, anyone. No, I'm going to back Kai Havertz.
Nice. And Pat, final one from you. First goal scorer.
And with Abby, Kai Havertz, I think he's coming onto some amazing form. So Kai, he could do with it, and he's good enough to do it.
Just because I do it every week, and at some point he's going to score first. Cesar Azpilicueta, that's what I've gone for. Always do on Play Predictor. Play it safe, mate. Skipper, lead by example. That is all from us. Thank you very much for joining us. It is time. Stay with us for live commentary. The semi-final place up for grabs. It's Chelsea versus Porto. Live from Seville in the company of Ben Andrews and Pat Nevin next.